My name is Brock, and this is the Dungeon Master's Toolkit Podcast. On today's episode, I talk with Owen, and we develop another shrine for the Shrines and Standing Stones project. This one is called the Black Legion's Last Stand. We'll get into it, but it's a kind of an old military encampment with some interesting twists. It leans a little bit more into the role-playing aspect than the mechanical aspect, so I think it should be fun. Also to note, Owen has released his own TTRPG called Splintered Moon, a post-apocalyptic fantasy for Powered by the Apocalypse. So if you're interested, you can find the link to that in the description and check it out. At the end of the episode, I will read the write-up that we did for this shrine, and if you would like to get a text version of the write-up, go ahead and join the Patreon, and you will have access to all of the Shrines and Standing Stone text write-ups. If you would like to hear more from Owen, he has appeared on episode 71 and 75, so there's plenty of content out there to listen to. And with that, I hope you enjoy the episode. So you can give me a roll. Doesn't matter what dice, just give me even or odd.
Even or odd. Coming up. That would be odd, Bob.
Odd. Okay. And then give me a D12 roll.
D12, my favorite. That would be a 2.
2. So this is some type of earthworks.
Earthworks.
And then I need to get to my other table.
Earthworks.
Yeah, so you can start thinking about what type of earthworks and then details. Give me another D12.
D12? 12.
So aspect. Oh, and that's roll twice.
Roll twice, okay. So 1 and 9.
Ooh, interesting. So this is aspects. So 1 is power and strength, and the 9 is hate or envy as our aspects of these earthworks.
Hate or envy. Power and strength, hate and envy. Okay.
And if you want more to go off of, I can pick some other things that we can roll on.
Sure.
Is there anything coming to mind immediately?
Yes. Maybe one more just to see if anything gels.
Do you want like an oddity or maybe ruination?
Ruination.
Okay,
Ruination.
Okay, do another D12.
D12. Already rolled a 2. 11.
Depleted resources.
Depleted resources. Depleted resources. Okay. So, off the top of my head, are you familiar with the lore behind Warhammer Fantasy or Warhammer 40K?
I am not.
Okay. There's 4 big chaos gods, and they are the biggest of the big bads. One of them is Khorne, Khorne. He is the blood god. He is the skull god. He's basically Ares ramped up to 11 and snapped the knob off. So all of his followers are like berserkers and warriors and no quarter given and slaughter all the innocents and build a big mound of skulls in honor of his name. So that ties into the power and the strength as well as the hate and the envy. This is not an Athena war god. This is not fight smarter not harder. This is weighed in with an axe and kill or die, all to the glory of the blood god. And you're really, really supposed to hate your enemy. I mean, like, hate them. Like, everyone else is anathema to the blood god, because they want to live in peace and they want to do nice things and healing. No. We're gonna conquest and hate. And of course, the envy is in there too, because if you want to take over all the goodness and ruin it, that's in there too. So I'm thinking earthworks, and this is like a shrine thing, right?
Shrine, not necessarily. My kind of working title for the project is Shrines and Standing Stones, but shrines, altars, standing stones.
Perfect.
Whatever.
Okay.
Just kind of the weird ancient things,
So in Roman times, the Romans were great about showing up someplace with their legion and instantly building a camp. Okay.
Yep.
They'd knock together, they'd carry in the things and they'd make the stakes and they'd have the camp and it was all perfectly set up. So my thought on this is this place was originally like a Chaos Legion's temporary camp. Okay. So they did like rammed earth, they were out there with boards and sledges, tamping the earth down into something really strong. And it's got the old wooden palisade that's rotting now, but still could probably stop a fairly stiff offense. So if you imagine kind of a cross between a legionary camp and a shrine to blood and death, they put up a somebody has put up like a stone archway into the camp that used to have gates and doesn't. They've ruined and rotted away, but most things avoid this. Most of and all of the wildlife around here avoids it. This was out. It's probably not close to any major settlements at this point. And again, the local villagers and stuff are a little weird about this place. But it was set up to be really, really defensible, so it doesn't fall down easy because it's earthworks. People aren't showing up and stealing the stones. The big gate standing stones, the lintels, are carved with all these horrific battle scenes, blood and gore and pulling people's spines out of their backs by their face, and just all the majesty of the blood god. Doesn't have to be 40K. It can be any generic like berserker god or berserk god of battle. But and then over after the Legion was defeated, we hope, after the Legion was defeated, like the local blood god cultists would like sneak in here and like make improvements and like worship at the altar that's set up. There's like a main line, like a beeline from the gate to the middle of the encampment. Again, if you go in there and look around, you'll find like broken belt buckles and old leather straps and sign of camp places where campfires were, and they buried the latrines because, of course, that's good discipline. So all of the hallmarks of a lived-in military camp, plus a huge, huge overlay of fanatical, blood-soaked cultist activity. The ruination, the depleted resources is there's an inscription on the gates that apparently has been added since the camp was abandoned and retaken over by the local cultists. Basically, it's a magical ward against like beneficial healing. So if anybody walks through this lintel, anybody walks through this massive, edifice that still bears blood stains from the last sacrifice, all of your healing potions turn to colored liquid. All of your get off my keyboard. I've got a cat. All of your any kind of clerical spells that do healing don't work in the environs of the camp, unless of course they're dedicated to one of the other associated chaos gods, which of course none of the party would be. And even if they do work, even if you do figure it out, all of the healing rituals are extremely painful. You get your hit points back or your arm resets, but you're like screaming in agony the whole time. So it kills all your healing provisions, and even things like bandages and poultices and medical kits. They just blow to dust or rot, and so that's going to be the depleted resource. Anybody who walks in is going to lose. And then the healer types, they find they can't cast healing spells until they do some sort of cleansing ritual, and they might have to take some time to find out why aren't my healing spells working. And everything else works great, but just not the healing spells.
So
What do you?
do we want so the way that I've kind of set this up, so if you think of a like essentially the book will be like a random table, right? Where you could, as a game master, you could grab the book and you say, I need something weird, open up to a random page.
Right.
And then on the left side, I got my description, which is kind of what we just talked about. And then on the right side was kind of the how the player can interact with it. So like on some of them, I have, different mechanical roles that they can make to interact with it. Some of the ones we've done were more so like kind of quest related
Right.
or narrative in nature. What do you think that kind of right side of the page would be?
Okay.
How do the players interact with this thing?
Okay. Well, first question, is there like a map section?
No, this is all
Okay.
mostly
Okay.
descriptive based, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay. So on the left side, you've got this is what it was, this is what it is, this is what it looks like. Here's the rough dimensions, here's the obvious stuff. As far as interactions with the space, anybody who does like detect magic or any kind of divination about the place is going to notice again, the entryway is heavily charged with that sort of magical trap slash trick. Let's see. There's probably an altar back there someplace. It's real simple, knocked together with like basalt. It just looks grim and brooding. So, like on a magical level, they could tell that something's going to happen if you walk through the archway. Again, the thing about destroying healing things, maybe there's a benefit if they pray at the altar. I mean, it requires a blood sacrifice of some sort, and depending on how strong a sacrifice they do, the more the benefit is. But it's going to have for every benefit they get, they're going to have a negative. So if they like, oh, we get a rabbit, we sacrifice it here. Okay, you get a +1 to like the next 3 or 4 combat rolls, but you have a chance of like going berserk at an inopportune time. And again, both of those percentages, the benefit and the drawback goes up measurably the stronger the sacrifice is. You could have a an adventure hook in that. Let's see. There's the MacGuffin. Oh, maybe they've been hired to destroy it. Maybe there's this, this chaotic, horrible blood god thing here, and you've got to find a way to completely destroy it. And that would be like a three-parter. The altar isn't really the focus. You do have to destroy the altar, so there isn't a worship spot. But you do have to take down the gate too. That's the important one.
Okay.
And it's defended if they start trying to take it down. And it's you can set it up so it's got to be an overkill. They've got to take it out instantly. They've got to destroy it to rubble in a heartbeat, or the gateway opens up and starts spitting out like blood demons. All the rage and the blood and the horror that was been here for generations generates these blood demons that will attack the party and destroy them in the name of the blood god. So there could be a quest for that. If you want a MacGuffin, the MacGuffin is like buried under the altar, but you got to destroy the altar first, or because it's got magical defenses. Not as oh, maybe that could be the foreshadowing. If you destroy the altar and it takes a little while and a blood demon pops up and you have to deal with that, and then you get the MacGuffin and take it back. What else?
Let me know what you think about this because I like the idea of potentially kind of going two ways, right? They could go here and they could do a sacrifice and get some sort of a bonus,
Mhm.
and then they could like keep coming back for that. So the what I was thinking when you were talking about like going berserk and stuff, maybe they based on their sacrifice, maybe they get like so many uses of like extra damage that they can do,
Sure.
maybe in the form of extra dice or something, but then there's that chance that whenever they use that, then you roll another dice or something and you go berserk for a minute or something.
Right, right. And that could be part of like if you've got a fumble mechanic. I try to make things as system agnostic as I can, so it's just a good
Yes.
idea that can be applied. So if there's a fumble mechanic, if you make a fumble, maybe it's not you miss, maybe it's you go away for a while with blood in your eye and you come back and your party's got weapons pointed at you because you keep hitting people. You could also throw in another aspect of adaptive. If you sacrifice a boulet, for example, since their big thing is armor class, one of the boons that you can pick is, you're temporarily impervious to damage from mundane weapons for a period of time, or
Sure.
you get the boule, you sacrifice a Medusa, and the Medusa appears on your shield, and you can do a petrifying attack once. So yeah, and I like the path of ruination there, because once they start and they go, oh hey, we can do all this cool stuff, they're dragging themselves into the chaos, and could be going toward the bad route. If they do like a real bloody sacrifice, maybe the wizard or the cleric or whoever can summon one of these blood demons to attack. So yeah, the adaptive nature of the altar would be fantastic. And again, make it real easy for them to make some real poor choices. So they're causing themselves problems, down the way.
So the
Oh,
other thing, oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was just thinking, in Rollmaster there was a character class that could bind demons to your skin as armor, and the armor would give you benefits but also drawbacks. That could be like a temporary, or and you could be sucking down curses too. You do like four sacrifices, and now anybody who's done that is going to have like minor curses on them that they have to get rid of. And of course, they've alienated the local groups, so none of the good guy priests are going to want to do it. That should be fun.
So the other thing I was thinking with the like destroying the altar, maybe it's not because like destroying an entire earthworks thing may be very difficult, but maybe it's almost like a bomb essentially, in that if they destroy the altar, then these blood demons start pouring out for a certain duration, and once all of the kind of magic is spent on those blood demons, then the whole thing just kind of like collapses.
Yeah, yeah, and you could get creative about it. Like if you've got the druid who's like, this is all about like blood and decay and destruction. What if I just went around with a bunch of wildflowers and wildflower seeds and just was plant growthing the hell out of this? Digging into the earthworks and breaking apart the dirt, and do a summoning of earthworms to just destroy all this stuff. If they subvert it, if they go 180 degrees off of the intent and just hammer it and hammer it and hammer it with all the goodness and light and growth and harmony that they can, then that would do it too, without all the nastiness.
Yeah, yep.
So if they're thinking smarter and thinking creatively, reward that. And and I can see the party now. It's like, we're gonna have like a marriage ceremony here. We're gonna bless this place with marriage and life, and bring the baby in, and do a little this and that. I don't know. You could go a lot of different ways with that. But yeah, if they come up with an idea to completely subvert that, that should be a lot less problematic than just using, if they use violence to solve the problem, then it's going to respond violently and
Right.
problematically. But if they come at it, we'll get a bunch of ents over here, and they'll just set up a forest, and we'll just grow it out of existence in a couple of minutes. Yeah, that would work. I like that idea. So both, the if they violent it out, it's going to violent back. But if they like love it out and grow it out and piece it out and harmony it out, then it doesn't have anything to work with.
Right. So they have the altar which they can perform sacrifices to get some benefit at some cost. And then we've got they destroy the altar or otherwise use violence to attempt to destroy the place. Then it goes through a period of like releasing blood demons that attack, and then once they're dealt with, then everything collapses. And then the last option is using love or nature or in some aspect to neutralize it without releasing all of the chaos, essentially.
Right, right. Like if they heal the site, if they're casting like curative spells on the archway, and have like some visual effects on that. You cast the spell, and the one little fight scene where the two guys are stabbing each other, now they're like brothers, embracing each other, and all the scenes start changing. Give them little hints that they can do that positively as opposed to destructively.
I like that. That's sounds like a very interesting place to encounter, and I like that we have a lot of different ways to interact with the location as well. Do we want to mention anything about the potentially local cultists that are there? Or do we want to just leave them out and assume that they're just kind of not around?
Well, I'll answer your question. There is in Pyramid Magazine, they had a thing called Adventure Pizza. Okay. And Adventure Pizza was a setup for something that the party can run into. I wrote one of these where the party's coming along and they hear some problems and they go running up the road and there's a man on a horse and there's a broken wagon and there's dogs running around. And if they attack, that's a problem. If they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" The big guy on the horse is a local baron, and he's helping out these poor merchants whose wagon has broke and his dogs are running around because his dogs are excited. And so if the party helps out, they get the wagon fixed and the merchant's very happy and they go to town. And the town's called Baronsford or Baron's Bridge. It used to be a ford, now it's a bridge. And he's the local baron. He's like, "Oh, I'm very pleased with you. Come on, help me out." But they notice things like he lifts one corner of this wagon like it's nothing. And, "Hey, could you stick that wheel in there?" Chunk. And so they go to the local tavern, the only tavern, and the one barmaid is moping around and she's got bruises on her neck. And all indications are that the Baron is actually a vampire. Okay. So when in Adventure Pizza, you set out the recipe and then you do like different variations. So the one is the Baron is not a vampire. He's got a ring of giant strength and he's got, and the girl is in love with him, but she's not, he's like, "I'm not, no, my heart belongs to another." So she's like trying to set him up so that some do-gooders will come in and take out the Baron. The second one is he is actually a vampire. He got changed, but he's very strong-willed. He's a paladin. He's very strong-willed, and his party killed his master vampire and released him. And so he's been devoting his entire life to not being a vampire, but he's on his homelands. He's from here, so he's walking on his native earth. So crossing water does not bother him. He can walk around in sunlight because he's on his native earth. And one of the complications there is he's like changed his dogs into ghouls, so they drink his blood and get strength, but he's not really doing anything bad. He just, "Oh, well, I'll do my detect, undead. Oh, he's obviously undead. Shit, we got to destroy him." But he's like the good guy. And then the third option is the waitress is actually the vampire, and the former or the paladin baron has been, you know, resisting her wiles. And so she wants the party to beat up on the baron enough so he's too weak to resist her. Okay. So it's set up that could apply to any of those three, and then like three interesting ways to take it. So if the first way is destroy the place, if the second way is use the place for ill, the third variant, the one with pineapple on it, is there are actually cultists who have been using it for ill, and they all can magically buff up before any big bad boss fight. So they're all berserk and doing extra damage. The local farm boy who's now can like throw a wagon at you and things like that. So I think the potential for like local cultists who are gaining power and trying to take over some stuff. I think that's an interesting, and that could be like a three-liner. Or you can have the cultists and they do this and they can use the same powers listed above to buff up their combat abilities and try and hack your head off and make a pile of skulls. What do you think?
I like the idea of that as a little caveat or a potential GM thing that they can throw in depending on what fits. I could see like the local like livestock ranch kids, right, are like sacrificing random animals to gain power, right? Just the farm kids.
Right, right,
It's
yeah.
just a very unexpected group of people who, maybe they don't even realize that they're not necessarily like cultists, but they've
Oh,
found out that they can gain power by sacrificing some of their animals at this place, right? So just
yeah,
kind of this weird like, oh, the farm kids are always like super nice and whatever and blah blah blah, and here it turns out that they're sacrificing goats, at
yeah.
this
So
blood god place.
Yeah, and it's oh, that would be perfect if they were a bunch of, like, teens and preteens with the added complication that you can't just, like, hack them to bits because the locals will be like, "Hey, that's my kid." So you gotta get them away. Oh, I love that. That's wonderful. Because, of course, teenagers are great at doing stupid things. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Yeah, we know, No, that's yeah, accidental cultists. That's even better. That's even better. It's like, "We just did it to help out with the hay baling, I hate carrying those things, and now I can carry 3 of them." It's like, "Yeah, okay, don't do that anymore, please." "Well, I did bite my sister on the ear, I thought that was a little weird, but, I got the hay in, and it's like, win-win, She didn't need that ear, That would be yeah, that would be yeah, and especially if, like, the ringleader is like oh, yeah, tie him into, like, the local village and the ringleader of the little crew. Again, they're not bad kids, they're just highly unwise, and so, like, the big bad is like this, you know, 15-year-old, and he's like the son of the blacksmith, but he's like as big around as your wrist and like no muscle tone, and he's, I want to be big like that. I want to be able to swing a hammer like that. That'd be kind of cool. And now, and they show up just as like, well, we were going to butcher the bull anyway, right? And it only and it makes it easier because the blood just sucks right into that altar. It's really kind of cool.
Right.
And so he's just sacrificed the
It's a
bull, and
utility thing.
exactly, exactly, and it works. We don't have to deal with this, and that, and it makes that butcher in just a snap. But they show up just as like the 16-year-old who weighs 90 pounds kills the bull, and now he's like throwing boulders and, swinging a two-handed sword, or, with, a loose grip one-handed. And you're like, oh, crap. And we can't even kill him. He's going to waste us and we can't even like stop him. So yeah, that would be, especially when they charge in through the gate and now all their healing stuff doesn't work. And it's like, oh no. Yeah, that would be a hell of a lot of fun. I like that a lot.
So local ranch kids slash like butcher family or something.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely it would make a situation that would normally be we're gonna solve this with combat into a much more delicate situation.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, you could have fun with it because it's just like, anything if they're knocking back the opposition and they get to the altar again and the kid, hits the goat in the head with the hammer and now sprouts horns and charges you, knocks you back. Oh no. So it's like they keep changing on us. This is bad news. No, I like that a lot. Let's see. What are we going to call that? We're going to call that, let's see. Let's see. How about like the Black Legions? Let's see. The Black Legions. Let's see. Black Legion's altar, Black Legion's shrine, Black Legion's.
Fort. I mean, it's not
How
because there's
about how
more
about
than
how about the Black Legion's last stand? This is where they
last.
all die. Oh, even better. Yes. The good guys all got together and attacked this like encampment when they weren't ready. And they killed all the big bads. They killed all the Chaos Legion, but all of their spirits are inhabiting like the altar and the gateway. Yeah, that would be
Yep.
that would be a
Yep.
very unpleasant experience to let those guys loose again. Oh, that would be funsies. Yeah, so the Black Legion's last stand. We can call it that. If that works for you.
Yeah, that is perfect. I love it.
Hee hee. Well, that was
Cool.
fun. I like that a lot. Hey, what charts are you using for the aspects and the
Yeah, so this is Perilous Wilds, which is
Oh,
for Dungeon World.
oh yeah, I'm very familiar with Perilous Wilds. Awesome.
It's just such a good random table
It
for
is.
coming up with just about anything. So,
It is. It
um,
is. One other one I'm going to point you at just for like adventure generation. Are you familiar with Stars Without Number?
I'm familiar with it. I have not read any of their books.
Okay. The cool thing about them is it's like maybe you travel to a water planet. Okay. So here's a water planet. It's mostly fluid. They've got to deal with this. And then it says friend, the local marine biologist, the merchant who's trying to get this, beneficial beneficial water medicine to the other planets, you know. So there's a list of 4 or 5 like friend types. Doesn't give any stats on them. You flesh that out. Enemies, you know, the local whatever, the trade hegemony in the area who does this and that. So it's friends, enemies, locations, and complications. Okay. So every one of these location types, and I think there's a fantasy version now called like lands without number, or
I know
it's
they
not
have a couple
yeah, yeah, but
now.
they have this whole thing. So here's a setting type, here's some potential friends, enemies, complications, storylines, MacGuffins. And then they've got this big chart of 1 to 100, and you roll on it, and it says a friend needs to get the item to the enemy hires the party to stop the friend from getting the item to the location with this complication, right? Or friend and enemy are actually lovers, you know, and the complication is this, in the background is this item or location. So basically it's almost like a Mad Libs, you know, you pick and choose and you plug into, okay, well, this friend and this enemy and this complication, and they're all extremely they're somehow specific and generic at the same time. It's like a plot outline, and you just plug in the specifics for it. But it's fantastic because you get 100 options, and of course you can come up with 100 more in a couple hours. But it's 100 options of this person, you know, this threat you don't, this complication that's going to arise that you don't know about,
Sure.
to solve this situation in this location, and it's just boom and you're done. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to use that robustly. And then it's not always the same, you know, go get the sword and go, you know, kill the dragon and save the princess.
Right, yeah.
But I love that concept so very, very much. So if you get a chance to look at it, I don't know if it's in the free version, but the paid version, the PDF, is not expensive, and it's a resource that you can use. I've got to go and pick up the fantasy version, because between that and the Perilous Wilds, you could create endless amounts of people, places, things, you know, plot hooks, and I really like it. I really like it.
The Black Legion's last stand. This site is the remnant of the Legion's temporary camp, surrounded by formidable earthworks formed from rammed earth, now hardened and compacted over time, and the remains of a wooden palisade, rotted yet still imposing. A stone archway, once grand but now in ruins, marks the entrance to the camp. Intricate carvings on the archway depict horrific battle scenes, warriors in the throes of combat, visceral and unyielding. In the center of the camp is an altar, simple yet sinister, made of basalt. It emanates an aura of power and hatred. The area around the altar and the gate is charged with a magical ward that negates healing. Any healing potions sour to colored liquid, and clerical spells of healing fail to work. The ground is littered with relics of a once bustling military camp, broken belt buckles, leather straps, and signs of old campfires. The shrine's atmosphere is heavy, with the spirits of the fallen legion, their rage and bloodlust lingering like a miasma. The adventurers can feel the oppressive weight of history, the echo of battles long past, and the insidious influence of the blood god worshipped here. Role-playing opportunities. Sacrificial altar. Players can perform sacrifices at the altar to gain temporary combat bonuses, bonus damage, etc., at the cost of potentially losing control and going berserk. The more significant the sacrifice, the greater the boon. Ruination and redemption. If the players choose to destroy the altar, it triggers the release of blood demons. Once defeated, the shrine collapses, ending the curse. Alternatively, players can choose to redeem the shrine using acts of love, nature, or harmony. Like healing spells or growth magic, this pacifist approach transforms the site's violent history into one of peace, changing the carvings on the archway to scenes of brotherhood and unity. Local involvement. Local farm kids, unaware of the full extent of their actions, have been using the shrine to gain power by butchering animals. These individuals are not inherently evil, merely misguided. And then the final one is the magical ward against healing. Upon entering the shrine, all healing items and spells become ineffective, or the use of them causes pain. That is the Black Legion's Last Stand. If you would like the text write up of it, feel free to join the Patreon and you'll get access to all of the shrines and standing stones. Thank you all for listening.